Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Is a preview for this weekend's game against Watford, Dad. Whoever will quickly go over the Bristol City game and the Sunderland game. What are you saying?
Well, again, I was hoping to go to the match, but it was derailed. I have to say, Dan, my headline would be awful at Ashton Gate. I think that I've run out of excuses now, but let me get the positives out of the way. And I can't wait to hear you bloody give it the big one. I thought Josh Griffiths played excellent. Yes, he played a part in the mistake at the end of the game. However, he made some game-changing saves. Bloody Bartley should not have put him in that position in the first place. Right, I can't hide my frustration. We've got no bottle. We've got no desire. We've got no determination. I just think they've got no character. Yes, Malumbi got sent off. Yes, it was a red card. But I think it weren't that player's fault that they didn't put the ball out. But at least he showed a bit of fight.
I'll
I
go on for
think
you,
that.
Dad.
Come.
I want to quickly say, I said last week to you, and I think it really showed because I had a chat with Nick on the way back about it from the game against Bristol. There's no leadership, and I think it's really showing, Dad, because against Bristol City, the amount of times I saw Bartley bollock everyone, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're bollocking everyone. It's not really doing anything, is it really?
No, you know something, Dan. I think it was evident to me that we missed Hegan without a shadow of a doubt. If I didn't know any better, I'd suggest that Bartley's been told his future's not at the Albion because he was lethargic. Tony Mowbray's actually dug him out.
As in, what's really interesting for me, Dad, is, and I think we've seen it many, many times with the Albion, as soon against the end part of the season, the game-changing parts of the season, we clearly aren't stepping up, are we? And I think it's the big games they're letting themselves down. I think at Sunderland, I didn't think we played that bad, but again, we couldn't score. We couldn't score. You would never see us scoring at Sunderland, even if another 90 minutes was played, because we didn't have that cutting edge up top. Against Bristol City, again, that first half, Dad, we really struggled to create chances. You want to know why? Because I think some people put in the comments, why on earth we're playing Price up top? It don't make sense. And this is where it's got to be something on training, Dad. Or I send the video, some with Adam Armstrong's contract situation where he's obliged to play most games for them, or even every single game for the Albion. Just because, again, Dad, I think DK came on, and we'll go over this again. DK came on, and I'll be honest with you, Dad, we were a completely different team. If you notice, Tom Fellows as well, putting the balls into the box. It weren't Madger-esque, but we really had a big difference in the game. And from the 65th minute to the 90th minute, I'd say, I think what Carl Swain put in the comment section, we really dominated and we could have won that game. But because of a silly red card, we lost it, didn't we?
Yeah, but listen, got to be really, really careful, right? By the time they had the red card, that game should have been dead and buried. I think that, listen, as fans, right, I'm trying to contain my annoyance. So let's just recap, right? I think that it's not ironic that we've got a team full of forwards, none of them are firing. DK, I can understand that
He
shot, and
missed a
then he was
sitter though,
looking
didn't
at.
he?
Sorry.
He missed a sitter though, didn't he?
Yeah, well, did he? At least he hit it. But listen, this is where I'm coming from, right? As football fans, our job is to support the players. They go in the numbers. Ashton Gate was packed out, right? But it's like any other thing, and I'm trying to be sensible about it. Is Mowbray sees something on the training pitch that we don't, but even I look good on the training pitch, and you know how bad I am. So I suggest we've had Val, we've had Steve Bruce, we've had Carlos, we've got Mogga. I actually now think it is, and it always has been, the players. They're coasting. They think they're better than they are, with the exception of Hegem and Fellows. Who would you cherry pick from our team if you were an opposing team?
I think at the moment, for me, Percy Stars has been really good under Mowbray. But again, I don't think anyone's really been stand up. Imagine when you got to think about it, Dad. The amount of goals he's scored, 12 goals in 25 games. How big of a miss has he been? And I think
Yeah,
you're really right what you say, Dad. You really right what you say there. But a question I want to say to you, right, and you may disagree and you may agree, because people have put in the comment section as well, and I really appreciate your feedback on this, guys, is the fact that they're saying that Mowbray's a dinosaur manager. Could you see it? Can you see it? Because I personally can now.
I'm, what? Hey, listen. You know what I'm getting annoyed about. You know what
Dad,
I'm getting.
I'll
No,
go for
hang
it.
on, hang on,
It's
you've asked
zero
me a
wins in
question.
five. It's zero wins in
You've asked
five.
me. Can I finish?
Yeah, yeah, sure, go.
Right, you're talking about a manager, right, who's got the most experience in the division. He's no mug. Be careful what you wish for, pal, because you and many others wanted Carlos gone. He's gone, and here we are. Right, be realistic. Be realistic, because we're in a club still in decline. We owe millions and millions of pounds. We're in debt millions of pounds. Behind the scenes, we're trying to patch it all together. We're a club that's now it's now getting reaping what it sowed, giving players stupid long contracts, people taking money out of the club unnecessarily. So we are in the soup. So from this is my perspective, right? Yeah, I'll fire one back at you, right? If you were Mr. Patel,
Yeah,
how would you feel? You bought the club,
yeah.
right? You change things for the club, yeah. You're
Mm,
shoring up the finances. You
yeah,
give the a manager the money to do what he wants. And I would have bought Armstrong without a shadow of a doubt.
yeah.
Some of the players that we've got have been exceptional, right? It's it's the loyal, long-standing players who just aren't delivering. They're like an ex-girlfriend. You know damn well they're going to break your heart, but you go with it because it's tried and tested. Now, listen, I ain't messing about now. Let me just go through some notes, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Did
Yeah.
we look did we look like a side in the playoff race? Absolutely not. No. When have you seen the Albion players turn up when they're needed?
Not many times at all, have you?
So what's that say to you? Is that the managerial problem, or is that a mentality of the players?
I think it's mentality to the players. I think I do admit that. But the only thing I would say, coming back to your comments about Patel, the only problem I have is, I think many people said it, Dad. Mowbray was the cheap option. And again, that's nothing on Mowbray. That's nothing on Mowbray at all. But that's where we had someone otherwise lined in place. And I think you're seeing it now, Dad. Don't get me wrong. While I was banging on Mowbray about a couple of weeks ago, some points here and there against Leeds, Burnley. We got a good result against QPR at home. But, Dad, how do you excuse having two strikers on the bench and not playing them when you're playing a midfielder that clearly wasn't fit enough to play? And
Yeah,
Mowbray said he gambled on him.
I agree, but listen. It's done. It's dusted. We've got Mowbray now, right? But if you now you press me buttons, right? I think it was the wrong appointment. I don't think he's a well man still. There's a big article which I think we'll focus on next week. He's not well. He can't eat certain foods. And I actually think Albion have put him in a terrible position because they're going to ruin his Albion legacy. And I think that the players should be disgusted in themselves, knowing that bloke fought for his life, right? He's an Albion manager. And they should think, you know what? If we're not going to do it for the fans and we're not going to do it for ourselves, we'll do it for Tony Mowbray. Right. Yes, Mowbray was the cheap option, but who else was out there? You could
No, I
have
agree.
ended up with all kinds of Mexican routes.
I had to
Hang
ask
on,
you
hang
this.
on, hang on. No, no,
Obviously,
no,
what
no,
was
no,
from?
no, no, no. Let me finish. I think it's been unfair on Mowbray. He's an experienced manager. He's no fool. Isn't it ironic that we've had Steve Bruce and Tony Mowbray, two of the standout defenders of the generation? We can't bloody defend.
I know.
We had
That
King
makes sense.
Carlos, who was the goalkeeper, and now we're in the suit with goalkeepers. Dan, I'm not having it right. I'm not having blaming Mowbray all the time and the management and Mr. Patel. It is down to the long-standing players. I'll dig them out for you because I know that you won't. I think that John Swift's been a bit not been good. He was the cheap option. Jed Wallace, whatever happened to him, he was the cheap
He's
option.
injured,
He
isn't
was out of contract. So in other words, right, if you're going to go into the crappy little market where you get where
he?
you absolutely that's what you're going to get. They're free agents for a reason. So listen. This is my argument. If I was Tony Mowbray, right, I'd get him to watch vlogs like this and say, lads, right, do you want it or not? If you don't, bugger off because they don't want it. Carl Bartley should have been ashamed of himself. I listen. My mum, and she's in her 80s, and she's got dodgy wooden legs. She could have kicked that ball away. It's an absolute disgrace. And I hear on the grapevine there was a few scuffles outside the ground about Albion fans between themselves. What have they got us down to, Dan? I'll tell you straight now, we ain't got a cat and owl's chance of being in the playoffs.
No, we haven't. And I think, again, I do agree. I think you can see it's the players, Dad. But I don't get how you can go from being in the playoffs see, like last season, we consistently stand on the Carlos Corberán, and you can see we're a really well run team. How can you change defensively from a really good side at the back to completely different and now? Because don't get me wrong, I'm not going to pick out players like Mason Holgate. I could go on all day saying he had a really bad game against Bristol City, especially for letting Naki Wells turn him. But why should we be put in that situation anyway? We know what Naki Wells is about. And straight away, I said it to Neil at half time. Shout out to you, Neil, for watching the videos. I said to Neil, Naki Wells is a veteran striker and he knows exactly what he's going to do. He's going to get the man who he wants to pick on, Holgate, turn him, goal straight away. Griffiths can't do a thing. And again, I sing you praise what you said about Griffiths because a really good choice from Mowbray from taking Wildsmith out. So I thought Griffiths was really, really good. But, Dad, how can you excuse the defending?
You can't. And one thing that is positive for me, some of the loyal comments and from Bristol City fans has been ace and the Sunderland fans. It just goes to show, right? We're all out. We're all football lovers, and we've got our chosen religion as is the Albion. I think it's about time now that the players took the stick because you know what, Dan, we've been saying the same thing over and over again. I'll answer your question, what you said about the defence. Albion players, the majority of them, are not intelligent enough or flexible enough to adapt to different formations. I mean, it's only a while ago since Jed Wallace was saying, "Oh, under Carlos, it was like a military camp." Now it's under Mowbray, who seems to look
understand it, can't you?
Hang on, yeah. Now it's like Mowbray. He's like, for want of a better word, a standing supply teacher who you just take the mick out of. I think a lot of these players, right, and a lot of them won't go on to bigger and better things. They'll just languish in the different leagues. I think they should be ashamed of themselves. I think with the current climate, what it is financially, they're so bloody lucky to have hundreds of thousands of fans travelling up and down the country. And let's be honest, we get ripped off with the prices wherever we go. I'm disappointed. I feel let down, and I feel sorry for the Albion fans because you know what? It's clear that the passion's there. I mean, I'm beyond upset. I just think the players aren't doing themselves any favours, and I question the professionalism, and I question the game management, and I sometimes wonder whether or not I've got to be careful.
You know, it's really interesting you say about the game management, actually, because you've noticed since Carlos has gone, recently, Dan, and I think I've got to mention it because people have mentioned it all around on Twitter, Instagram, even the comment section, and I've thought it myself as well. There's many things that have popped up under Mowbray and your Steve Bruce's. Carlos, it didn't happen, but last minute goals, last minute judgments, we're letting in so many last minute goals, and that is really going to cost our season. And then you think about it as well, Dad, when we were with Ismail and Steve Bruce, was one thing you could see week in, week out. The mentality of the players to have getting a sending off, getting a bit of a scuffle and getting a red card. We didn't see it into the first year under Carlos because the amount of time I saw post go West Brom, no red cards in like a year and a bit. And as soon as Carlos is gone, we've seen over like 4 red cards, I think it is now. How do you excuse players from getting silly little red cards when there's no need for it?
Well, I'm beginning to wonder whether Jason Malumbi wanted a break over Easter. Now he's suspended. It's an easy answer for me, by the way, is that King Carlos used to get them in one by one, the players after the game, and analyse their performance. So it'd be like you when you used to be at school. Well, now you're at uni, they'll have you in and say, "What on earth is all this about?" I just think, Dan, we're gonna have to write this season off, and I think we'll probably have to write next season off because we need to do what the Blues have done and have a bit of pain and go down or summit. Because you know what? I say go down. Sorry, that's the wrong thing. Get rid of these players. Daryl DK, lovely bloke, get rid of him. He hasn't come off. Johnny Swift, get rid of him. Get rid of Dean Garner. They're just not turning up.
No,
you know something? What's the definition of madness? Doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results. He's picking. If it was me, I'd put the kids in there.
Would you? I want to go that far, but I've got to quickly ask you, Dad. I'm really bemused by this because I can't see it. What are your thoughts on now being put an appeal in for Jason Malumbi's red card?
I think it just goes to show how deluded they are as an ex-referee. Well, I still do my refereeing. It was a blatant. It was not a nice challenge. But I'll flip it on its head. What would you do if Naki Wells had done that on DK?
Exactly, you asked for a red card, wouldn't you? But
it was
what annoys me again? It's the players' man management of the game. don't get me wrong. I know the players now play the game when they go down and try and get the ball kicked out. I think it was Earthy on the left-hand side at one point in the second half. He went down and Albion started attacking, and then we needed had a shot on goal. And I think it was Naki Wells ran over to him and said, "Get up, get up." And then an
Yeah.
extra player back. What happened? Keith stays down for that long in the period of game where we can't have that happening. They've had a shot, they've still kept the ball. And because of that, Jason Maloney's had to feel to go over and then bout the kid pretty much. And it is a red card, in my opinion, anyway. I don't know how the Albion are going to try and appeal that. What are your
Oh,
thoughts, guys? And because of that,
you
I
can't
just
dress,
think it's cost us.
you
It
can't
has
dress
cost
it up
us.
any other way. Don't like it's a blatant foul. Our Albion can appeal that. If they get that turned over, then we're in trouble. But because we wouldn't have liked it. I'll tell you one thing I did know. I didn't see it, but I've heard somebody say it. Is apparently Bartley raced over to Diakite and give him a mouthful for staying
Yeah.
down for too long.
That's what I mean. And I think that's
Uh,
right because, again, the man managed the game. If Kite stays on his, gets off his feet, again, I don't think he was injured. Let's be real. He probably wasn't. If he sits there for a minute and gets up in the end, we've got an extra man back, and that doesn't happen. But then again, you can't have these
I've
things
got
because, again, Dad, it comes down just to the players' management of the game, which clearly, at the moment in time, we don't have.
I'll go one further. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that the fitness within the squad has gone down since Carlos has gone. I think that their overall energy and gas in the tank has gone down. Diakite went down because he was knackered and the players were blowing. And something, Dan. Listen, take it from me. We ain't getting in. We ain't getting in the playoffs. We've got to win. We've got to win at least 3 or 4 games. We ain't
I
going to do
disagree.
it.
I
How are you
disagree.
going to
I
do it?
think, I think, I think we've got to win every single game. And what's interesting is, I think, again, let's be real. The only positive I have in this situation is that I don't think any of the teams from fifth to eighth are going to go on a massive run to the season. I still think there's going to be twists and turns. I'm not saying that we're going to get in because it's going to be highly unlikely, but you've got to remember this is the only thing I'd say at Albion fans. Keep a little bit of faith just because you've got to remember. I know we've got some tough fixtures coming up. I know we have, but you've got to have a bit of faith about it. We probably won't make it. We've got to remember Bristol City got some really leads coming up and whatnot. Sunderland. Cov have to play Middlesbrough on the last day. Again, I'm not saying we're going to get there, but you've got to have a little bit of faith, haven't you? And that's the thing where I think we've been lacking at this moment in time.
Well, you can have faith, and then you can have blind faith, and I haven't got faith. Dan, listen, don't get yourself all what's the word? Because I know what happened. You'll end up selling me the bloody dream.
Well, I'll sell you the
I'll
dream, and again, we'll go to Cardiff and lose, won't we?
no, no, I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. Right, once it's confirmed that mathematically we can't get in the playoffs, the pressure will be off them, and the last 2 games of the season we'll end up barnstorming them. It's
Probably,
simple
yeah.
as that. Dan, the Albion players have not got the ability to absorb pressure and make the right decisions at the right moment. They're a bunch of professionals, right? With the exception of probably 4 or 5 who continue to let us down, and they're letting Tony Mowbray down. He's no mug, Dan. How can you have the audacity to slate him? Right, he's doing the best he can. Should a manager really have to G players up who've been there a long time, who
No,
will
we shouldn't.
who are loyal, hang on, who've been loyal servants to the club, have had the wages paid, right? And how did they go and repay us? By just turning up and thinking, you know what, don't happen, it don't happen. When that goal went in, the players went down and they showed no fight, no determination. My only criticism, I have got criticisms of Mowbray, and one of them would be, as soon as Tom Fellows come on the pitch, he changed the game.
Yes, I'm going to say that. I was nice to come on to that actually. What was interesting was, Dad, I'm pretty sure Armstrong, how many touches did that man have in the box in the end? Only 2 touches.
He did,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
He's
And it's
obviously
seen it week in, week
he,
out. Perry made a great comment. Oh, so made me laugh. Is he the linesman? Because he was barely in the first half, even in the second half. He had that one chance, which again he could have taken, but he didn't. Don't get me wrong. I think Darrell had a chance to score on that chance about the 85th minute. But again, he was there and he caused a problem for the back line. Surely to goodness that Murray can see this, and I'm hoping that he changed it for next game. But one thing again I got to mention was Banny. I thought he was excellent when he came on the pitch. Really changed the game, I thought, in attacking position. But again, The problem I have is with Albion at the moment, Dad, we have never changed from going side to side, side to side with the ball, and we're doing nothing with it. It's not surprising. I think it's Furlong who puts a lovely ball across to Fellows every time. I don't know who was, I think it's McCrory, I think it was a left back, right back for Bristol City. And Tom Fellows had him on toast literally as soon as he came on that pitch. If Tom Fellows starts, it could be a different game, in my opinion, just because they couldn't deal with him. The only way they could deal with Tom Fellows was sticking two men on him. And if you look at it, as soon as they put two men on him, he plays the Furlong, and then Furlong puts it in the box, and we look really more attacking threat of a
I,
team. Go
I'd suggest that Tony Mowbray was thinking, you know what, this season is ours now. I don't think, obviously, he didn't think we'd lose three on the bounce, but I think he was probably protecting some of the more skilled players, the dangerous players like Tom Fellows, thinking, you know what, we're going to have an extra run in with the playoffs and we'll need them. It's too late now. You know something, Dan. Since I've stepped out of the cauldron, is yes, Armstrong's not come off at the moment, but let's not dig him out. Dig out the other players as well. Yeah, listen, his confidence has gone now, and he'll only need a goal to change it. But let's dig out the other players who know better. You know, you can't keep on picking on Josh Griffiths or the keeper or Adam Armstrong because he scored millions of goals, comes to the Albion, he couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. Right, let's concentrate on the other players. Who's geeing them up? Do you see
There's
anybody
no
on
one.
the pitch
There's
digging
no
them out
leadership,
now?
Dad.
No?
There's no leadership. And again, the reason why you got to pick out Adam Armstrong because again, personally, Dad, I thought Colin Grant had a great game again. I think he offered some a bit of
Yeah,
passion, a bit of
yeah.
energy on that left hand side once again, and that's why he retained his place. But again, I think it's something like Armstrong. If you play Tom Fellows there, pretty different. Put a big man up top because in the first half, the man had Tom Griffiths launch a lovely ball over to Price, but he's not going to keep it all the time just because they've got big centre backs who are going to win the ball every time with a header. It annoys the shit out of me. Sorry for the language, it does. It really does, Dad. And I think for me going to the next game, he's got to change it because Watford again are a really good side. If they win that game, they go above us in the table. You don't want to just keep falling. And I said to many people at full time, said, would you keep Mowbray towards after this season? And the questions are no, because the results have not been good enough, Dad.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But one, one thing I will say is that all these last minute defeats, right? The difference between the sides aren't that much. And like straightforward Norwich and Bristol, what was the difference? The desire and the commitment of the opposing team. You know what I did think to myself when I watched that game, and because I wasn't there and you didn't get me PISS, is the fact that that goal was gifted. Let's be honest, our goal was gifted. I'm beginning I'm beginning to think till now, till the end of the season, I know you're not going to agree with me, just get the keeper or the defender to hoof it up and let Armstrong and the players run and panic the defenders. Because what we're doing, playing like crabs, it just ain't getting us anywhere. If it was me, I would go for broke, change the way we play. I wouldn't have four at the back because it ain't bloody well working. And I would go back to the horrible days of what's his name? I can't think of the Wells. I'll come back to it. Bobby Gould, who sent us
I'll
down.
say probably go.
Just bang that ball up, bypass the midfield, and get it in. Because what's the point of the midfielders doing all the trickery, doing all the stuff, John Swift doing his Hollywood balls, and we miss?
Because I thought John Swift was one of those players who won at it against Bristol City. I thought, don't get me wrong, I love
Never
Alex
have.
Moore. I love Alex Moore and I like John Swift, what he's about. But they're both the same player if you think about it. They get the ball, they want the ball, and they play it off. They do like a small little pass. It's not bad sometimes, but sometimes I don't think they both can fit in the same team. What I liked about Banny when he came on, as soon as a play was there, he'd run to him. And the next play, he'd run to a bit of a Moby style player that he really needed. I think, don't get me wrong, I think in a transfer to bring in some players, and he did. And it hasn't worked out, especially like Armstrong. Price has been good and whatnot. Personally, myself, I saw someone on Twitter, and I think it's a perfect lineup. I think personally, you got to play Big Darrell up top on the weekend if he's fit enough. We don't know if he's fit enough. And I'll start Banny, I'll start Price if you can, and I'll stop Kite behind him because again, I thought he looked really good when he
Yeah,
came
that's
on.
right.
And I
Yeah,
think
I'd
Josh
agree.
Griffiths has got to obtain his place, Dad. But if I had to go to you for a score prediction, what would it be?
I think we'll lose 1-0.
Against Watford, do you reckon?
Yeah, I think we'll lose 1-0 because let me just finish.
No, go on.
It's because the pressure is going to be on at the Hawthorns. If someone puts a foot wrong, the crowd are going to be booing. The players are already low on confidence, and I think that'll be their team to kill the crowd early doors, get a goal, and shut up shop. But listen, can I just say one thing?
Um,
Whilst you've made some ace comments, and in all honesty, I don't disagree with them, but you put yourself in Mowbray's position, right? It, we'll put his illness aside. So he's come into a team with more or less the nucleus of the same players since Val,
yeah,
with the additions of various players. No other manager's got it right. He's inherited a squad that just ain't good enough, and yet we expect him to come in, wave a magic wand, get us into the playoffs, and boom, he's probably thinking to himself, "Hang on a sec, if I get these clowns up into the Premiership, I'll get the sack anyway because they ain't going to suck up the likes of Man City, Arsenal, and a rejuvenated bloody Nottingham Forest." And use Nottingham Forest as the bench plate. They ain't got any massive marquee players. What they have got is a team spirit, a camaraderie, a winning list to play something completely different and not copy Pep. It's all about the players, Dan. For once, blame the players. Right, collectively, not to just Tony Mowbray or Malumbi or Griffiths or Bartley. Collectively, they'll all let themselves down, including Tony Mowbray. So let's move on to the Watford game.
Watford
Who's
game.
the
I mean,
manager?
Tom Cleverley.
Right. Listen, they're a physical side. They're nobody's mugs. They'll beat us, end up.
You reckon? It'd be an
Yeah.
interesting game actually, because I know Watford they have they have their ups and downs, don't they? And they're a good little team on their day. But again, knowing us, we've got if we have that man management against Watford, I feel like we'll win because exactly that's what other teams around us have got. That if you look at it, Coventry, doing the lucky goal the other night against Portsmouth, they go right to the end. Bristol City did the same against us. Sunderland, they'll do against us. You know what I mean? It's those teams above us. They've got man management, and that's why we keep repeating it. I think for the Watford game, it's going to be a tough one. I'll say confident, say 2-1 win because I think we need to get a win at some point. I don't know how I'm saying that, but I think we need to get a win at some point.
Have you been on
Um,
the funny folks?
I don't know.
So let's just get this right. We've lost three or four on the bounce,
Three on the
right?
bounce, and it's five
Lost,
winless.
we've lost three on the bounce, and we don't look as if we're really interested in the playoffs. It's almost like they've gone on holiday and left a suitcase in the dressing room. Well, listen, we've all got opinions. If we win, it changes the whole dynamics. But I can't see us win because every time we need them to step up, they won't. Don't get me wrong. I don't want them to, but I can just see it now. 0-0, 20 minutes to go. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, man, I do. Yeah, guys, what are your thoughts? Put
But
down in the
saying
comment
that,
section
saying
down
that,
below. Go on.
saying that, I love the Albion. I'm going to change my outlook. Being it coming Easter coming up, we may just have a golden nugget.
Hopefully, Dad, will you be a commentary then?
Yes, I will. Shall I tell you why? Because
Go
I
on.
just can't take it. I'd rather get off my sick bed, have an injection, go and watch him. Because I hate being at home. I hate not being there. And put it this way, if we do lose, I've got enough pain in my back and my body anyway. So yes, I will be. Yeah, and whatever happens, I will be there.
Guys, thank you so much for watching the video always. Make sure to put in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts on the situation at the moment? Have we blown playoffs? What are your score predictions for Watford? Who's to blame? Who is the problem at the moment? Put it down in the comments. Like and subscribe if you can. And Dad, anything else to say?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all one big baggy family. We've all got our opinions. I've no doubt I'll get pelters, but that's my opinion. I love the Albion. I don't love anything more than the Albion. And I think you, my mate, are doing an excellent job. And Rebecca,
Yeah,
some of
appreciate
the
that.
vlogs you put out, mate, some of the vlogs you put out, Dan, are outstanding, mate. So if there is one shining light so far this season, it's you.
Cheers, Dad. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. And what time is it? It's
It's
showtime!
showtime!